On 7 News tonight, the border bubble busted as Tweed and Byron residents go into lockdown. Plus, a policeman accused of smuggling his daughter into Queensland.
Anarchy in Melbourne as lockdown protesters take over the streets, even attacking a 7 News reporter.
Queenslanders as young as 5 to get Pfizer, likely before Christmas.
Homes under threat. Wild weather fans a bushfire outside Ipswich and brings sleet to the granite belt.
The PM arrives in New York for crucial defence talks with President Biden.
They're calling it the holy grail of autism therapies, and it's developed in Australia.
And the search to identify thousands of homes in a historic Queensland photography collection.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Sharon Gadella and Max Futcher.
Good evening. It's been deflating for a week and tonight the border bubble has all but burst, with Tweed Heads and Byron Bay now locked out of Queensland.
The sudden reversal is due to one single COVID case, with some business owners on the border preparing to shut their shops.
To gauge sentiment in North Kirra, the sign says it all.
You can't just keep shutting people down like this at a minute's notice. It's just crazy.
The fragile border bubble all but burst. Byron and Tweed, the latest locked out LGAs.
Going back into lockdown, the gym was shut for 4 weeks. Now it's literally been open for a week and now it's going to be shut again.
For border businesses like Coolangatta's Coffee Club, the sudden change is yet another bitter blow.
It's just not viable to work 7 days a week. It's just not possible.
Lewis Chung's chicken shop is also facing the chop. His crucial staff are across the border.
I will have to close down the business. Without people, I can't work here.
Byron Bay, Tweed and Kempsey are all affected areas due to one single case.
The person was an authorised worker. It was part of their employment. They had all the approvals to leave Sydney.
But unfortunately, that essential work included visiting many venues.
A number of shops, as well as some restaurants and pubs in the Tweed area as well.
If there are cases in northern New South Wales, that would present a real risk to the southern parts of the Gold Coast, where I have thousands of families holidaying on the Gold Coast at the moment.
Health Minister Hazzard wearily confirming what most could already see coming.
Lockdowns.
The Premier has refuted reports she's waiting for 90% of Queenslanders to be vaccinated before reopening borders, insisting she requires more information for setting a target, as other states have already done.
We are waiting for further information to come from the Doherty modelling to National Cabinet in a fortnight's time.
Queensland recorded no new cases today.
Yeah.
But there are additional exposure sites at Brisbane Domestic Airport, including the B&E News Shop, South Food Court, 2 sets of toilets and Gate 25, due to 2 interstate arrivals now in hotel quarantine as the state navigates COVID calm before an outbreak storm.
Yeah, it's very windy. Everyone hang on to everything.
And Ben Murphy joins us now live. And Ben, a police officer has been suspended for allegedly helping his daughter cross the border?
Yes, Ethical Standards Command is investigating Senior Constable Robert Eichenloff for allegedly assisting his daughter to cross the border from New South Wales into Queensland. It's understood he drove to the Gold Coast while on shift to help his daughter cross state lines, even though she didn't hold a valid border pass. The 56-year-old has been stood down pending the investigation. His daughter has been fined $4,135 for breaching the Chief Health Officer's border direction. The 20-year-old now finds herself in hotel quarantine.
All right, Ben, thank you for that. Within 5 hours, the border ban is back in force. Georgia Costi, Tweed and Byron residents can only cross to get food or medical care.
Only if they can't get it in New South Wales, Sharon. From 1 a.m, essential workers will be restricted to people whose job is needed for safety reasons. That means doctors, nurses, emergency service workers and tradies working on urgent repairs. Locked out are hospitality and tourism staff that many border businesses rely on. Queensland Police say they're ready to increase patrols, ensuring no one sneaks in.
Thanks, Georgie. And a little later in the bulletin, Pfizer's major breakthrough. The vaccine's safe for children as young as 5. So, when could it be rolled out in Australia? Don't miss that story soon on 7 News.
Thousands of construction workers, anti-vaxxers and what some claim were rent-a-crowd took over Melbourne today, confronting police and attacking the media. Despite being reinforced after yesterday's riots, police couldn't stop protesters marching on Victoria's Parliament, then creating chaos on Melbourne streets.
For the second day, mob rule on Melbourne's streets. Riot police were prepared,
leave now or force may be used,
but in places were overwhelmed. Their vehicles attacked as they sped away, colleagues retaliating with tear gas.
How are we supposed to live? How are we supposed to live?
A 2-week shutdown to Victoria's construction industry, igniting anger. The target today, the CFMEU, the state government and the media.
The crowd is certainly getting bigger and they're very passionate. I've just been struck in the back of a head by a can. I'm not sure whether you saw that, mate, but that really hurt.
Journalists attacked live on air, even sprayed with bottles of urine.
Hey! Hey! Dude! Hey, back off! Back off!
The protest snaked through the city for hours. By mid-afternoon, they'd taken over freeways, blocking traffic and riding atop vehicles.
The whole Westgate Bridge, half of it is covered with people standing up for this now.
Many were legitimate tradies rallying against mandatory vaccinations.
You want to take the vaccine? Go ahead, mate. Take a litre of it, but don't force it on the rest.
Others allegedly inciters and professional protesters.
There is a network of hard-right man-baby Nazis, just people who just want to cause trouble, these man-babies. They want to complain about the vaccination.
I think is nothing short of a public outrage.
We have to take measures that change the behaviours across the industry.
Measures already undertaken in New South Wales, where the industry is about to fully reopen. If there was similar anger amongst tradies in Sydney, they weren't prepared to do much about it. Police squashing planned protests here before they could even get off the ground. Streets around the CFMEU's Pyrmont headquarters locked down. A union tonight very much at war with itself. Andrew Denny, 7 News.
After an eventful day, let's bring in Paul Dowsley in Melbourne. And Paul, the protest is not quite over yet.
After more than 8 hours, there is now a sign that this group is dispersing. I understand it's only a dozen or two of these protesters still left in the central city. Behind me, you can see an enormous group of police preparing for, if there is any further trouble, large groups of police still protecting the front entrance of the CFMEU union building. These protesters, though, will probably be exhausted. They've had an extraordinary day of walking through our city, walking to the very top of our Westgate Bridge. Scenes, we've never seen this type of protest activity before, and police have largely watched most of it. They've tried to grab a couple. There have been some arrests, but police have largely watched as this has unfolded. Very different to protests that we've seen over the weekend here in Melbourne, where they moved in hard and fast on the group. But this it seems to be dying down now here in Melbourne.
Thanks to Paul Dowsley in Melbourne. Well, let's take a look at COVID cases across the country now. And New South Wales reported 1,022 new infections today. 10 more people have died. The state's introduced a new friend bubble for people aged under 18. It means each child can have 2 friends over at their house. In Victoria, 603 additional cases were recorded, as well as another death. There were 16 new cases in the ACT. A blaze west of Kilcoy tonight has been described as chaotic by fire crews as authorities declare the bushfire season has begun. It was whipped up by strong winds which brought sleet to other parts of the state.
On the ground and in the air, the battle is on. This is the start of bushfire season.
If you were thinking of using fire to clean up around your property, it's probably now too late.
At Gregor's Creek, west of Kilcoy, more than 20 fire trucks and 4 aircraft called to a fast-moving fire.
winds up to 65 kilometres an hour. We did have some fires that have been lingering these last few days, and we anticipated we'd get some fire activity today. And by lunchtime, it certainly came true.
Crews aren't just battling a fire, they're battling this wind. The fire is being taken all the way along this ridge. Homes under threat are now being defended. The southeast is on a very high fire alert, a severe fire danger warning in place for the northwest of the state. While on the Granite Belt, conditions were polar opposite.
Sleet cross, tiny hail.
The seasonal spectrum brought a gale warning to the Gold Coast and blustery conditions to Brisbane City.
I'm feeling like I'm going to fly.
On George Street, chilly gusts reached around 40 kilometres an hour. A 24-degree day felt like 9.
Oh, it's terrible. I nearly get blown away up there.
The state is prepared for a dangerous few months ahead. A large air tanker to be based in Bundaberg, shared between Queensland and Victoria for the next 4 years.
Will be available here in Queensland during our peak bushfire season and then go down to Victoria for their peak bushfire season.
That peak won't be far away. Well, we're at the Incident Control Centre tonight, but I'm told visibility on the fire front is virtually zero. Crews are still working to contain this blaze, but with rapidly changing conditions, the danger is still ever present. Residents are being told to stay across any warnings. Max and Sharon, this is just the start of the bushfire season. The message, be prepared.
All right, Sally, thank you. Well, let's bring in Paul Burton. Bertie, what are conditions like now?
Cold there, Sharon. As that sun set in the west, obviously we started to feel those temperatures plummeting rather quickly. 3 degrees in the last 20 minutes here on the Gold Coast, so we're in for a very chilly night ahead. Have a look at some of those wind gusts. The city or around the airport reached 74 k's throughout the day today. It's 72 out there at Cape Morton, around 50 to 60 on the Gold and Sunshine Coast. Now, temperature-wise, it was rather mild today. In fact, it was a little bit warm this morning. 26 on the Sunshine Coast, Logan, 24 to 25 coastal, Ipswich and in the city. But tonight it's going to drop down to single digits. It'll feel much cooler due to that wind. I'll be back a little bit later with your full weather forecast.
We'll catch you then. Thank you, Bertie. Scott Morrison is in the United States preparing for a crucial one-on-one meeting with President Biden in just a few hours. They'll finalise their new military alliance tonight, but the PM is in damage control as the European Union backs France over the growing submarine spat.
Stepping into a diplomatic storm. Scott Morrison arrives in New York City.
I'm very pleased to be here in the United States.
His mission, the 3 Cs, COVID, climate and China. But the blow-up with France over the Axe submarine deal threatens to torpedo his plans.
Shouldn't there have been more diplomatic groundwork done before this announcement was made?
It would be naive to think that a decision of this nature was not going to cause disappointment.
He says he gave France plenty of notice.
That had been communicated very clearly many months ago.
But now Europe is angry.
One of our member states has been treated in a way that is not acceptable. So we want to know what happened and why.
Foreign Minister Maurice Payne's French counterpart cancelling their meeting as European leaders met separately discussing France's threat to scuttle Australia's free trade talks with the EU.
I can only really, I suppose, quote I think it's the Foreign Affairs Chief from the European Commission who said that you don't mix apples and pears.
The French say the new AUKUS partners are poking the bear in Beijing.
La stratégie Indo-Pacifique. The Indo-Pacific strategy signifies a direction that we consider to be a very confrontational direction toward China.
Labor is critical.
Friends need to treat each other with respect.
Caught in the middle, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson defending his allies.
It's not exclusionary, it's not divisive, and it really doesn't have to be that way.
Indonesia uneasy. Scott Morrison speaking to President Joko Widodo from the plane.
We had a very warm conversation. I was able to reassure him particularly about the issues on non-proliferation.
Scott Morrison's meeting privately here in New York tonight with News Corp Chief Executive Robert Thompson and meets tomorrow with US President Joe Biden as the subs-row fallout now threatens other alliances. The White House says Mr Biden will defend Scott Morrison in an online meeting with France's Emmanuel Macron tonight. Australia is not invited.
I'm sure that opportunity will come in time.
But that could be a long time.
And political editor Mark Riley is travelling with the PM in New York. Mark, how important is this meeting tonight?
Well, it's an intensely important meeting for both leaders. For Scott Morrison, it's a crucial opportunity to cement a new relationship with a second US president. We know he got close to Donald Trump, and that might not have gone down too well with Joe Biden, who of course is from the other side of the political fence. And for Mr Biden, it's equally important because he's already under immense pressure on foreign policy after the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and this AUKUS pact and the submarines deal is seen as more evidence of his secretive approach to foreign diplomacy. The whole intention was to build a united democratic front against the rise of China in the Indo-Pacific, but already the allies are starting to fight among themselves, and that wall is cracking, and the only winner in all that is China.
Mark Riley in New York. A man accused of stabbing a woman on an early morning walk on a Gold Coast beach will remain behind bars until his next court appearance. Police say the 20-year-old attacked the 34-year-old woman at Kirra yesterday. He was arrested shortly after and had his first mention in the Southport Magistrates today. He's facing 4 charges, including attempted robbery and attempted kidnapping. The matter returns to court next month.
She's one of our Olympic golden girls, swimming to glory at Tokyo. But Maddie Wilson is now in a battle of a different kind. Contracting COVID-19, she's been in an Italian hospital, struggling to breathe. And she has an important message she wants to share tonight.
From the highest high of Olympic gold to the lowest of lows.
It's been not like the most amazing experience.
Olympic swimmer Maddie Wilson in the fight of her life for her life, contracting COVID-19 while in Italy competing in the International Swimming League.
COVID is just a terrible thing, and it just puts an unbelievable pressure on your chest and lungs.
Testing positive last Thursday, the 27-year-old's health deteriorated rapidly.
Because the next day I was struggling to breathe.
Since winning gold at Tokyo in the 100-metre freestyle relay, Maddie's competed in 32 races with her team, the LA Current.
So yeah, my body's been under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure.
And she hasn't seen her family since February.
I've been so worried, all of them. So worried, but I think now that they know that I'm back in the hotel and my oxygen levels are obviously a lot better.
From her sickbed, Maddie wants to send a message to her fans, just how important it is to get fully vaccinated.
I can't stress enough to get vaccinated and how lucky I am that I was vaccinated, not only for me but the people around me.
Her team's already qualified for the semi-finals in November. She'll now have time to rest. After that, she's homeward bound.
I just want to go home, and I'm sure my mum just wants to hold me.
Samantha Heathwood, 7 News.
Not long now until daylight saving returns across Australia, so is Queensland lagging behind? Why some say a change could help border businesses.
Huge delays on the Bruce after a crash between a truck and a motorcycle.
Prince Andrew officially served with a sex assault lawsuit.
And after sport, a record 9 years in the making, the Brisbane sisters who sang 193 national anthems for 6 hours.
In 7 News with Sharon and Max, snapshots of our past, homes from Brisbane to Bundaberg.
A man who photographed every house in Australia.
Thousands of photos from the 60s and 70s. Now the search to complete the collection and identify all the homes. Is yours one of them? 7 News, coming up soon.
Traffic came to a standstill on the Bruce Highway this afternoon after a motorbike and truck collided near Caboolture. Paramedics and police were called to the on-ramp at Bribie Island Road just after 1 o'clock. A man was taken to hospital in a critical condition.
It's a debate that stood the test of time. Daylight saving begins in less than 2 weeks and, again, Queensland will lag behind our southern neighbours. Nearly 30 years after the last referendum, there are renewed calls for change.
Another headache on the border.
Mainly people in business, I think, and particularly on the border.
Not COVID, another issue that also straddles state lines, daylight saving.
It depends on personal circumstance. And my personal circumstance in Victoria was I couldn't stand it.
On October 3rd, the clocks will wind back. Queensland again an hour behind New South Wales. More disruption for border businesses already doing it so tough. Wynnum's David Jones is petitioning Parliament to change that.
You can never govern for all Queensland
You can only ever govern for the majority.
The petition is backed by University of Queensland's Dr Thomas Sigler.
We found that through our academic research. 60% of Queenslanders statewide want daylight savings, 70% in the southeast corner, and almost 80% when you get to the Gold Coast.
1992 was the last time the state government held a referendum on daylight saving. Nearly 3 decades later, advocates say the state is ready for change. Nearly 55% voted no to daylight saving then, including more than 78% in northern and country regions.
The population was a lot more rural, a lot more regional, and a lot more northern. The demographics of Queensland have shifted to the southeast.
If you were born after 1974 or moved here after 1992, then you haven't had a say on the subject.
Get in line with New South Wales.
A timeless debate bound to continue. Ned Balm, 7 News.
Prince Andrew has now officially been served with a sex assault lawsuit. Lawyers for his accusers say the paperwork was received by the Duke's US legal team and they have the FedEx receipt to prove it. Prince Andrew disputed claims he'd been served more than a week ago. Virginia Giuffre is seeking damages, claiming she was forced to have sex with Andrew as a 17-year-old, alleging links to convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
In the same 24 hours, Prince Andrew became a grandfather again. Daughter Princess Beatrice announcing the birth of her first child, a so far unnamed baby girl, with husband Eduardo Mapelli Mozzi. Royal insiders say Prince Andrew hasn't visited yet, still holed up in Balmoral. The baby is the 12th great-grandchild for the Queen.
Pfizer's big breakthrough, the vaccine's safe for children as young as 5, when it could be approved for use in Australia.
Meet the Deception Bay boy who helped save his father's life.
The remarkable new therapy helping parents combat autism.
And before weather, the southeast's suburban history. A snapshot in time is your home in the history books. Queensland children 5 and up could be given Pfizer before Christmas. Overnight, an American trial found a weaker dose was safe and effective. Within hours, the Federal Health Minister had asked the drug manufacturer to apply for approval here.
From a free scooter clinic at Murarrie to cricket with a baggy green batsman at Chermside, these Queenslanders are next in the vaccination queue.
We'd certainly get in line straight away, yeah.
Overnight, Pfizer announced its vaccine was safe for 5 to 11-year-olds. 2,000 children were given 1/3 of the usual dose. The result? Safe, robust immune protection. It could be given to American children in October and in little Australian arms by December.
Just get the vaccine.
Puts one faith in science, I guess. And hope.
And hope it arrives before COVID. Mark Briggs was fit, a father, a miner. This is him now.
Before I had the shot, I was perfectly fine, nothing wrong with me. You know, I played beach volleyball, ride my bike.
He was revived 3 times. He's been in hospital for 3 months with myocarditis, inflammation of the heart, a condition not formally associated with AstraZeneca.
It's been reported to the TGA 3 times by 3 different hospitals. I have spoken to a couple of lawyers, but they've said that we can't do anything until we get an actual diagnosis.
Now what to do with the unused, unwanted original saviour, AstraZeneca. Thousands of vials expire within 2 weeks, with no plan yet to retrieve and redistribute them. Stocks are being moved aside for Moderna, which arrives at chemists from dawn. Erin Edwards, 7 News.
3 youths have been charged with the attempted murder of a 17-year-old boy at West End last month. Police allege the attack is linked to an assault on another 17-year-old boy at Milton, also in the early hours of August 28. The 3 fresh accused are among 10 people charged with attempted murder over the Milton incident, which investigators blame on gang rivalry.
A Deception Bay boy has been awarded for performing first aid and phoning paramedics when his dad suffered a seizure. The quick-thinking 11-year-old says he learnt the life-saving skills from his parents and a TV show.
Most kids have their dad as a hero. Andrew Bryce's hero is his son Noah.
It's really good to help people.
Andrew has suffered epileptic seizures all his life, but last month Noah knew this time his father needed an ambulance and dialed 000 from their Deception Bay home.
I was using my computer and then he started having a fit and then he fell on the floor.
The 11-year-old stayed calm, put his father in the recovery position and monitored his heartbeat.
Is he breathing? Okay, just checking.
Until help arrived.
He said, "Dad's inside, come on in." He handed over his previous medical episodes.
This morning, Noah was awarded for his bravery.
I was scared at first, but then I took a deep breath.
I'm proud of him and I love him heaps.
The boy says he was shown the first aid skills from his mum, dad and TV show Operation Ouch.
They tell you to call 000 if someone has an emergency problem.
Paramedics say parents should take the time these school holidays to teach their children basic first aid skills and how to call 000. It could save a life. And ensure all kids know help is just a call away. Crystal Etherington, 7 News.
Astonishing pictures are emerging of homes being swallowed by lava as burning streams surge through villages on the Spanish Canary Islands. 100 homes have been destroyed so far in the area's first volcanic eruption in 50 years. Thousands have been evacuated from their homes, but so far no one has been hurt or killed.
A new therapy developed in Australia has seen a dramatic reduction in the clinical diagnosis of autism. Researchers worldwide are calling it their holy grail and hope it will transform how and when the disorder is treated.
Building blocks his way. Lincoln has unlocked a piece of the autism puzzle even before he was old enough for doctors to know if he's on the spectrum.
He didn't cry at all.
From birth to his first month.
Lincoln would happily look everywhere but my face.
His mum knew something was different.
We'll wait and see until the 8-month appointment. We'll wait and see. We're told that a lot. So, whereas I guess my mother's gut instinct was, okay, no, there's something not quite the same.
She signed up to a world-first trial of babies 9 to 14 months, providing preemptive intervention before most neuroconnections develop. Video playback pinpointed how each child and parent learns best.
To identify those strengths, use them as the building block for future development.
When you stop and noticing, someone doesn't have to be looking at you to show that they want to engage with you.
By the time participants turned 3, the rate of clinical diagnosis was reduced by almost 2/3, reducing sensory issues, repetitive behaviour and communication barriers before they formed.
This is more proof it doesn't need to be debilitating and definitely doesn't define a child's life.
And what we hope to see is greater educational outcomes and, of course, later into life, greater life outcomes as well.
Whoa!
Because that's every parent's holy grail. Jessica Page, 7 News.
He dreamed of joining the police service. Next, meet the crime-fighting 9-year-old sworn in as an honorary junior constable.
A car crashes into a backyard pool on the Gold Coast.
And a very Aussie rescue. A special show of mateship saves a stranded kangaroo.
With his wife Robin, they raised an Olympic superstar. Now, respected TV newsman Steve Titmuss joins Amanda of 8 hosting 7's Gold Coast News.
No, what's happening?
From Coomera to Coolangatta.
Know the Gold Coast with Amanda and Steve at 5:30, then 7 News at 6.
Time now for a check on the markets with finance editor Gemma Acton.
Thank you. Some reprieve for investors today after yesterday's turmoil. The ASX 200 recouping early losses to add 26 points and close at 7,274. AusNet was the biggest gainer. Shares jumped nearly 10% after a bidding war broke out for the energy infrastructure company. It has been a bumpy 24 hours for Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency dropping back under 60,000 Australian dollars, while iron ore has now slipped below $100. And while it's been a disappointing month for local shares, the ASX 200 is still only 360 points below its all-time high and is still up by nearly 9% so far in 2021.
A Gold Coast woman had a nasty surprise when a car was accidentally driven into her backyard pool. Homeowner Rebecca Dunn was sitting in her Nerang living room when she heard a massive bang outside.
It is a bit of a shock, yeah. You don't ever think that these things are going to happen to you, but then they do.
The driver was not injured.
He's a crime-fighting 9-year-old who's always dreamed of joining the police force, while Christopher Lowe is battling a rare brain tumour that hasn't stopped him from being sworn in and even solving a crime as an honorary junior constable.
Kitted up and ready to hit the beat.
I love the front, buddy.
9-year-old Christopher Lowe, now a boy in blue. Arriving at the Miles police station for his official swearing-in ceremony. He's been dreaming of this moment since he was 4.
Your lanyard with the badge and your warrant card. Hey. Congratulations.
But for this special junior constable, it was straight down to business.
We had some stuff in there. We've got a real crime happening. Hold on.
A stolen bike and a thief to hunt down.
Someone broke into the police station shed.
After dusting for fingerprints and a little help from the dog squad, Constable Lowe cracking the case and even rewarded for his efforts.
It's mine now? It's yours now.
It's a moment of joy during Christopher's health battle. In June, he began radiation treatment for an extremely rare brain tumour.
When we got his diagnosis, I said I just wanted him to be a police for a day. And my thoughts was that he'd just hang out at the police station. I wasn't expecting all of this.
This is amazing.
The Miles community rallying to make his dream come true.
To have all of this in one day and hopefully give him some happy memories to look back on when he's going through such a horrible, tough time.
His memories of hitting the beat will last long after his first day on the job. Samantha Heathwood, 7 News.
A very Aussie rescue is being seen around the world tonight. Mates found this wet, seemingly stunned kangaroo over the edge of Lake Burley Griffin this morning. With a little coaxing, they managed to scoop him up and carry him back to land. It looked for a second like they were in for a fight. Instead, holding onto his paws, they managed to calm the roo down before a pretty cute moment.
Oh, he's stinking you.
Oh, indeed. After hanging out for a while, we're told he hopped away in good shape.
Pieces of history almost lost forever. The snapshots of Queensland's suburban past, thousands of photos of homes. Is yours one of them? That story's next on 7 News.
Let's find out what's happening in Tuesday Sport. Here is Webby.
Thank you, Sharon. Hello, everyone. Ahead, harsh reaction from the NRL to Penrith's gamesmanship. Adam Reynolds, he's Brisbane bound, but first there's a hoodoo to bust. And our women's cricketers, little wonder they're world beaters. Broncos bound bunny Adam Reynolds believes his side has found the formula to smash their preliminary finals hoodoo. Friday night's showdown with Manly's their 4th straight grand final qualifier, but South's last decider was in 2014.
The Rabbitohs captain prefers to walk the walk rather than talk the talk, especially on clearing that final hurdle.
We've moved on, we've got a different team, we've had a lot more experience since then, and we're looking forward to the weekend.
The reason? Wayne Bennett. His final round gamble to leave out 8 of his stars paid off. The freshen up had them primed to take down the Panthers in the playoffs.
Most of us rested up and prepared really well that week. It's been a pretty similar thing over the past fortnight, so we got to experience it a fortnight ago.
I love playing for Wayne. He expects you to know your role and gives you the confidence within yourself that if you know your role, you can deliver on the day.
No foxing from the Storm for Saturday's grand final rematch. Over hamstring issues, Josh Addo-Carr rushed straight in against Penrith.
But a really good
3 weeks in rehab training, and it's been good for the body too.
Fellow Blues flyer Brian To'o's in the Panthers 21, so's Villalami Kickow, both battling ankle damage, while Tyrone May replaces Mitch Kenny, who's at the centre of a $25,000 fine and trainer Pete Green's suspension. He broke the rules by getting officials to stop the Eels semi, despite Kenny's injury deemed not serious enough.
I just don't really get the rules. Someone was injured and Pete was just out there to tend to his injury, so Mitch Kenny's not even playing this week, so I think he done the right thing.
And Michael Maguire's survived as Tigers coach. The club cancelled an emergency board meeting where it was expected they'd vote to axe him after yet another dismal season. Ben Davis, 7 News.
Well, Gilly, I really hope Peter V'landys was watching the Eels and Panthers clash. How good was an old-fashioned slugfest?
Exactly, Webby. Only 2 tries in 80 minutes. We don't need 10 a match to be entertained. I hope they change the rules in the off-season so we see more games like that, mate.
But I fear we won't see any more players like the Morris twins.
Yeah, emotional scenes in Mackay. Great to see the crowd sticking around to farewell a champion, mate.
Well, I'll tell you what the crowds won't stick around for, Gilly. Time wasting.
We're stopping games for cramps and minor issues. Most of it's milking the clock. The coaches are telling the trainers to manipulate the contest. Ridiculous.
Well, how do you stop it?
Assess the players on the sidelines or out the back. Keep the game going. No one will stay down then.
Well, surely the worst example, Blake Ferguson's medical miracle. And we used to bag soccer for the same antics.
Yep, that's ugly, Webby. I have a lot of time for Fergo, but that's not in the spirit of the game. Soccer started penalising them. That soon cut it out.
Well, speaking of cutting, Desi and that hair, what is he doing?
Oh, coming from the style guru himself. But I don't know if it's a superstition or a lockdown thing or what. But the mad scientist looks definitely working.
The day Brisbane was denied a loftier place in AFL history is helping inspire one of the game's most exciting young talents, Demons forward Cozzy Pickett. His uncle was instrumental in Port Adelaide stopping Brisbane's charge to a 4th straight title back in 2004.
I've always dreamt of it. Obviously, I've seen Uncle Byron play in a grand final. Growing up, I've seen a lot of Indigenous superstars just playing in grand finals and winning, and I thought, I just want to be exactly like them.
An early omen for the D's, Perth Aquarium's Henry the Octopus has picked Melbourne to break their title drought. And as she faded sponsors, more history awaits Emma Zielke. The Lions' first premiership winning skipper will now become Brisbane's first female assistant coach. Australia's all-conquering women's cricketers have extended their ODI record to 25 straight wins. As Alyssa Healy notched a milestone of her own, a couple of teenage quicks ensured a lopsided start to the multi-format series against India.
6 long months waiting for this, and they welcomed a prodigy. Sydney teen Hannah Darlington now among the elite. Bowling stocks depleted, Elise Perry took the new ball. The champ remains a work in progress.
She's rattled, it's clear.
Another newcomer, South Australia's Darcy Brown, wasn't phased. In just her second ODI, she rattled India's top order.
In the air, out! Oh, Rachel Haynes, you can do it all!
From there, only skipper Mitali Raj resisted. Her 63 was a delight. But the kids were having a picnic. Darlington got her first on debut and endured the Aussie ritual. 225, only a pass mark on this wicket. Australia's dynamic duo made a mockery of the run chase. Alyssa Healy racked up a runner ball 77 and passed 2,000 ODI runs.
Here, and she does it in style. She clears the rope.
Haynes was unconquered on 93, all done in 41 overs. Plenty of daylight left for Healy's husband, Mitch Stark, to hone his skills. Virat Kohli's slump continues before next month's T20 World Cup. He made just 5 for Bangalore against Kolkata in the IPL and wasn't the only big name to struggle. AB de Villiers bowled for a golden duck and Glenn Maxwell gone for 10.
There's the frustration.
The Royal Challengers were crushed by 9 wickets. Pat Welch, 7 News.
Shona Max, a wonderful performance for our women's cricketers and lovely to see it in regional Queensland.
Yeah.
Sure they're loving it.
COVID has been good for one thing.
Yes.
Maybe that.
One.
Right, thank you.
Guys.
From Afghanistan to Zimbabwe and every country in between, 2 Brisbane sisters have spent years learning every official national anthem in the world.
Today they sang them all back to back, setting an unusual world record.
195 national anthems, 6 hours. This is Teresa and Agnes Joy's marathon moment. Each one learnt by heart to mark the United Nations International Day of Peace.
We just do every day this together. We do everything, every other things together as well.
Yeah. It's taken 9 years.
We actually get up at 5 every day. For 2 hours we practice in the morning before school.
Yeah. We've also been researching what it means, who wrote it, and when it was composed, when it was adopted, and all of that, along with learning the national anthems. So we making a thesis.
Today, setting a world record they weren't even chasing.
The world record team, they actually heard about this and they actually contacted us.
At 21 and 18, the sisters have their own Peace Foundation to empower young women and children. They're also halfway through writing a book together.
Our aim is world peace. That's what we're working towards.
A good place to start. Georgia Terry, 7 News.
Wow, that is some feat.
I knew that last one.
Did you? Good. Now let's take a look at what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. At last, the great escape. The countdown to Christmas travel, getting it right when you book overseas.
We've done the homework for takeoff, the risks, the restrictions, and ensuring Queensland travellers get a refund if they can't. See you in the morning.
Paul Burt has the weather next, plus thousands of homes from Brisbane to Bundaberg preserved in history. Next, one photographer's time capsule, now online. See how our suburbs have changed. It almost ended up in the tip. Instead, a time capsule. 60,000 photographs of homes from Brisbane to Bundaberg has been immortalised online. The photos were taken in the 60s and 70s, and the State Library needs your help, as almost half are yet to be identified.
If these walls could talk, they'd tell Robin Jenkins' family history.
We worked out 5 generations of family living between these 2 properties.
Her great-grandmother settled between Mildmay and Mann Street, Fairfield in 1864. They never left.
It's quite remarkable, really. We never planned it this way either, but it just seemed to happen.
Her and husband Jeff delighted to add these to the family album, captured by Frank Corley in 1970.
The man who photographed every house in Australia.
Frank and wife Eunice cruised Queensland streets in their Cadillac.
Cocked the shutter and fire.
Photographing homes in the 60s and 70s, selling them to homeowners as cards or calendars. Those never bought were stored almost forgotten in a shed.
We're really lucky to have this collection. There was a moment there when it might have been discarded.
Donated and digitised at the State Library, now a priceless snapshot in time. Documenting renovations, demolitions, the changing face of Brisbane. Where milk bars made way for cafes, Queenslanders were torn down for train stations, and grand homes once neglected are being restored, or simply stayed the same. If your home was built before the 80s, it could be one of thousands in the gallery yet to be identified. Search your suburb to find if your place is a part of history. You can find the link to the Corley Explorer on our Facebook page. Georgie Chumley, 7 News.
Weather now, here's Paul Burt.
Thanks for that, Maxie. Hello, everybody. Certainly it's rather chilly outside. As soon as that sun set over the Western Ranges, temperatures started to drop a couple of degrees every 20 minutes. Single digits across a lot of the southeast at the moment, particularly in the west. Let's take a look at today's temperatures. It was quite mild, actually, to start with. It's warm overnight. Got up to around 24, 25 across the majority of the southeast sector. 26 on the Sunshine Coast and also Logan. To the charts now, you can see that cold trough to the south, obviously bringing snow to 600 metres in the southern Alps. For us, we're just getting the tail edge of that. So none of that hail that was forecast or storm activity today. Nope, we were right on that top edge, so we didn't see any of that, but we did feel those brisk winds, and they're going to continue for the next 48 hours. So another high will move in, clearing the skies. So we're in for a great run to the end of the working week. Around the nation for tomorrow, cold for Canberra, -1 to 17. Wet for Melbourne, 10 to 17. Partly cloudy for Sydney, overcast for Adelaide. Back to the tropics now. It's going to be mostly sunny in the far north. Highs at 26 degrees for Cairns and Townsville. 9 to 23 from Mackay. Hello, everybody up there. Further south, we've got to see a clear run of skies all the way from Rockhampton down towards Hervey Bay, Gladstone, Bundaberg. Even up on the range at Toowoomba, a cold start. It's going to be windy with those southwesterlies, dropping mercury down to 4 degrees overnight with a high of only 19. It'll feel much cooler. Have a look at Sandville, -1. As we take a look in the southeast, going to feel the effects of that blast coming through our coastal regions as well. It'll feel like 11 degrees, saying 11 degrees, it'll feel more like about 5 in the morning due to the wind. And that's on the Gold Coast, tops at 22, 5 to 25 for Ipswich, 10-22 for Redcliffe. On the water, south-southwesterly winds turning southeast by tomorrow lunchtime. They'll drop off, but seas swell 2 metres up to 3 metres, southerly out wide, not hitting our beaches. 10 to 24 in the city, and clear skies for Thursday, Friday and Saturday, warming up to 31 degrees. Similar for Ipswich, highs of 31 Friday, 33 on Saturday, looking gorgeous. And the Gold and Sunshine Coast, clear run for Thursday, Friday and Saturday. Good chance to see we might just see a couple of coastal showers grazing in on Sunday. Bit of a cool change too.
Thanks, Bertie. And that's all from us this Tuesday. Thanks for your company.
From all the team, good night.
Good night.